Okay, so we're gonna try this again. I went and tested my microphone really quick, and Lainey was absolutely correct in that it sounded like I was on a train, and it was really just picking up a bunch of static. So I did the good old IT move. I unplugged it and plugged it back in, and that seemed to have fixed it. Um, but unfortunately, I won't know until someone hops on. Hi, Eliza. Just in time. Can you hear me okay? Or do I sound like I'm on a train? There's always that lovely delay on Facebook. But I want to make sure that before I get going on this, because you guys know me, I will get going on a tangent. So Eliza, if you'll be a love and actually tell me whether or not you can hear me. I know there's a delay, so I'm not sure how long that'll take. But in the meantime, what I had just been covering was tonight is all about basically what this group is, who I am, why I started the group, what From a Fable is, because you'll see that a lot in this group. It's kind of the root of what began all of this. And on top of that, I'm doing something a little bit differently because I feel like this message would also benefit people that follow me on Instagram. I'm also going to be going live on there because that way I feel like there might be more people that understand what it's about and they may actually want to get involved with the group. And I have some fun new updates from some of the feedback that I received from you guys. I actually have some updates on what's kind of going to be coming next now that I've only got 2 days left at my day job. I'm able to actually get things done and I'm able to actually go full into this community again in a way that I wasn't able to before. And I cannot tell you how excited I am and how unbelievably grateful I am to all of you for sticking around, for being here through all of my experimenting, which I'm sure there will be more. We always talk about experimenting in witchcraft, and I do the same in my business. But that's why it's so helpful when you guys do give me that honest feedback of, I like this group, I just don't know what the heck it is. Or, I can't always watch videos. Would you consider doing a podcast or creating audio files so that I could listen to it? And all that feedback was absolutely fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and actually kind of cut the little housekeeping bit there, and I'm going to get started on the live on Instagram as well. So hopefully we will see how this goes. I've never done this simultaneously before. It'll be another experiment, to be honest with you. So we'll see. So let's go. Okay. Hi, everybody. This is my first time going live on Instagram. But as I'm actually going live simultaneously here on Instagram, as well as my Good Witch Project group that I always mention, my fantastic group that I'm extremely grateful for. And every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Mountain Time, because I'm in Colorado, I go live and we have what's called table time, where we all gather around my hearth table. I'm literally sitting at my kitchen table right now because it's like my favorite spot in the world to be. Oh, hello. We have a couple people already hopping on. Hello. And so recently, there's been a lot of my time has been sucked up by being at a day job currently, and it was a fantastic job, but it was starting to take its toll on other aspects of my life. And my business was unfortunately the first one of those to give. And eventually it got to a point where I am now leaving that job and I'm actually able to fully incorporate myself again. Lainey, there she is. She's Lainey. Hello. Let me know if you can hear me better this time. I already attempted this once and my microphone was not working. This microphone is absolutely for the computer, for the group. Instagram, you're on my phone. That sound picks up fine. So, anyhoozles. Now we can hear you. Yay! Apparently it sounded like I was on a train before. Went and pulled the old IT move and unplugged it and plugged it back in. Works fine now. So tonight, the reason that I'm actually hopping on Instagram as well is I actually am going to be covering a little bit about who I am and things that I haven't actually been able to, or not, it's not that I haven't been able to, I haven't actually reiterated to those that are new followers, to those that are new in the group. I haven't reiterated, who I am, what my From a Fable is, what the Good Witch Project is. I've just kind of been experimenting, kind of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks for just various things. So tonight, after getting a lot of fantastic feedback from my amazing group, hello Kayla, hello Nikki, I decided that it was really time to revisit what everything was and really clarify for everyone what everything is, because it can be really confusing. There's been about 50 different names. You've probably seen my username change 3 times. And a lot of that's just been because I like to experiment with things. But first off, hi, my name is Lauren Runck. Many of you actually do know who I am. Oh, I just saw Christina hop on too. Many of you actually do know who I am. I've had quite a few of you following me on Instagram for a while. Those of you in the group, a lot of you actually moved over from my previous group that I had. But I wanted to make sure that when I was shifting the direction that everything was going, I started the new group, the Good Witch Project, which we will get to in a minute. Because I wanted to make sure that everyone that came into it wanted to be there and wasn't just getting rolled over from other content that I had been sharing before. So on that note, like I said, I'm Lauren Runck. I'm also known as the Witch of the Earth and Crow. And yes, I am a witch. I do consider myself one. I do believe in magic. I do believe in the most amazing things in the universe. And I believe that there's so much more than meets the eye. I believe there's so many unseen things as well as seen things. And let's see, my journey with everything started about 6 years ago. I was 19, living in Harker Heights, Texas, and I was working at a place called Earthbound Trading Company. I loved that store. It was fantastic. We were called the hippie store. And one day, a woman came in, and I grew up around a very new age mother. So I am very familiar with energy work, pranic healing, Reiki. I am familiar with all that, with crystals, all of it. I just kind of grew up around it. It's been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. And I'm very grateful for it. But so when she started talking to me about vibration and energy and all these things, I just rolled right along with it. And I was like, yeah, I was really enjoying the conversation. And then she made a comment. I don't even remember how we got there, but I was ringing her up. She was buying 2 bracelets. And I remember her asking me a question. And I was like, why do you ask? Or she made a comment. And I was like, why do you say that? And she goes, well, you're a witch, aren't you? Because she was one. And I remember looking at her and going, oh, no, I just know a lot of this stuff. Like, I didn't really think anything of it at the time. And then we got to talking more and more. And I won't go into everything that we talked about, but she ended up recommending the very first book that I ever read about witchcraft, which was, oh my goodness, it's Silver Raven Wolf's book. What is it? Something for the Solitary Witch. Forgive me, I'm blanking on the name. And witchcraft has always been something that I've been heavily, heavily intrigued by growing up. But obviously it was one of those things that, growing up in Lakeville, Minnesota, you don't really run into a whole lot of pagan things. You don't run into a lot of that stuff. And so I just hadn't really ever approached it because it always seemed wrong in many ways to me. But I couldn't help my fascination with it. Every piece of fiction I wrote had witches in it. The main characters were usually witches. I'm a writer, and that's what I love to do, is communicate through that. So finally, I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to read this book, and I'm going to learn everything that I can. Well, down the rabbit hole I fell. And I never, apparently, according to my manager, this woman was actually a regular at the store. I never again saw this woman. But I'm very grateful for having met her. And she was the first of the witches in her family. And she actually had passed what she knew and what she had learned on to her daughters, who then passed it on to her granddaughters. And it was really a fascinating story to hear. So long-winded explanation. There you go. That's how I got started 7 years ago. And since then, there wasn't a whole lot of information around. Like, yes, there is a surplus of beautiful information on Pinterest, on Tumblr, on Facebook, on everywhere on the internet. There's fantastic blogs. There's amazing resources out there. The problem was that I discovered was that nowhere actually told you where to start. There was really no starting point. It just kind of seemed like people fell into it. And I mean, I guess after hearing my story, maybe that's how I got into it too. But I don't believe in coincidence. But I also started to notice certain trends of like, wow, I can't find anything. I feel like I can't even get into it because there's nothing is clear, nothing. And anytime I tried to ask someone for help, it was what was done was called gatekeeping, where people kind of hide from it and aren't willing to share or even discuss it. And it's a very fear-based thing, and it's very real in a lot of communities, but witchcraft community in particular, and spirituality. So I just kind of carried along my merry way, and I ended up going and working for a wonderful witch by the name of Charletha. If you are ever in Killeen, Texas, go to Akasha's Treasures. You will not regret it, I promise you. And I ended up working for her. I called her my Texas mom. And I learned a lot from her. I learned actually how to make candles from working for her. And then down that rabbit hole I fell. And things just kind of fell into place this way, like they do in life. And I ended up starting my own candle shop because I started creating candles for books that I loved, inspired by them, the different scents. And that was from a fable. And so that's where the title comes from, is all of the candles in there were from stories. They were from fiction. So from a fable, because I really like alliteration and I like the word fable. I like the very old feel to it. And so I ended up starting to create this business around candles, and I found this deep love for making candles and sharing in, the different fandoms and having people message me like, oh my God, that's exactly what I thought this character, that smell perfectly represents this character. And I did that for 3 years and it was amazing. I absolutely adored every minute of it. And then at about the 3-year mark, it was September, and at the time I was still struggling with trying to figure out how to incorporate all this spiritual stuff into my life. Obviously I'm a mom, I'm a military wife, I've got my own stuff going on. And so I had this mold for a cauldron. I knew it was a candle mold. I'd been meaning to use it for months. And I was like, you know what? I'm finally going to use it, but how cool would it look if I had stuff like it was spilling over with the colors of Mabon, which was the first, witchy holiday that I wanted to celebrate. And so, translation, fall equinox. And so I made this cauldron, topped it with herbs, and I made it for me. I really did. It was me just pouring out this side of myself that I didn't really show before, but I wanted to bring into my life more. And on a whim, I posted it to my candle shop. And within the first hour that it was out, I had 3 orders for one. And it caught me really off guard because, to be honest with you, as I was listing it on my shop, I was like, no one's going to buy this, but at least I'm putting it out there and who knows, maybe someone will like it. And anyways, it was for me. So on we went. And down the 3rd rabbit hole I fell. And this was what really introduced me into this beautiful community of witches and beautiful spiritual people, and a lot of Christian witches. I have met Jewish witches. I have met Muslim witches. I have met so many different amazing combinations of spiritual people that I find absolutely fascinating. And it taught me a lot about coming at it from a wider view, a more open-minded view. So from a fable, made a turn towards spiritual candles, towards what's called the Wheel of the Year, which is like the witch's calendar. And what was really cool about it was that I found that a lot of people were like, yes, thank you. This is something that allows me to celebrate it in a more subtle way that's easy to fit into my life and smells fantastic. So, and is really pretty. So I went on to make those. And so that's from a fable. From a fable moved from fandoms and fiction inspired candles all the way to more spiritual candles. And eventually, as I started digging deeper into this community and kind of getting more involved with people, I had people come in and ask me questions, how I got started on this beautiful path, how I got, how did I know what oils to use? How did I know what herbs to use? All these things, all these questions, kind of focusing around the wheel of the year and how I incorporated it into my life. So eventually I was like, okay, I'm just going to start a Facebook group of people that want to learn these things and just start sharing this. I am a very introverted person, believe it or not. And I generally hadn't ever considered branching out or doing something like this, where I'm actually on here talking to people about it. I never considered myself in that way. I just really liked learning about it. But as people were coming to me and asking for information, I decided to jump in. So Table Time was born from Fable Table Time. And it's been the most beautiful experience of hopping on every week and just talking to people about things and answering questions that I'm able to answer. I love providing resources for people for questions that I can't answer. And, as things went on, I just started noticing these gaps and all this gatekeeping in the community. Like, I had people come to me and tell me, thank you for actually responding to me. Everyone else I've asked tells, just kind of shoos me away or tells me if you weren't born into it, then you have no business in it, which is one of the most infuriating things to me. But that is a tangent for another time. So as I started, sharing more of this, people started coming towards it more. And every time I heard one of those comments or read one in a message, it drove me nuts. It drove me absolutely nuts, because that is not how you continue on a legacy of knowledgeable spiritual people. That's not how you do that. No, I mean, think about it. Do churches keep you from entering? No. No. In fact, I've found that they adopt usually the idea of the more the merrier. And I've found that truly those that are more spiritual, and I shouldn't say more spiritual, those that are more connected with themselves, connected with those around them, they adopt the same philosophy. I love picking anyone's brain. I love having people pick my brain about it. It's fantastic. And I'm not sure that there's a better way to spend your time, truthfully. And so eventually, as I was hitting kind of a different point in the From a Fable business, I had something come to me where, I kept noticing this other trend in myself of whenever I would introduce myself as a witch to people, I'd be like, oh, but wait. But don't just, I'm one of the good ones. Don't worry. And it was always, I'm one of the good witches. I'm one of the good ones. I'm one of these. And so almost like a weird inside joke with myself, the Good Witch project was born. And what that is I'm not even sure if I have a good word for it, but the goal of it is to build a community of witches and spiritual people who don't gatekeep, who actually are willing to share with each other and teach each other and answer questions and have discussions and open up this beautiful topic that seems to have been shoved down in the shadows for so long. Because I do feel that healers and witches actually have a very important role in the world. There have always been shamans. There's always been wise women. There's always been wise men. There's always been healers of all these varying sorts. But, over the centuries, there's been a little, well, not a little bit, there's been a lot of demonizing of these things when there didn't need to be. And so part of what I'm noticing in our world now is there's a lack of this light from healers and spiritual people. There's a lack of it, and it's showing, in our social and political, everywhere. So I had a moment where I just kind of decided enough was enough. And if no one else was going to open the gates to it, then I would. And I think this role is so important. I really do. I'm not even sure if I have the words to properly express it, but witches, spiritual beings, religious beings, all of them, all these people that bring light into the world and knowledge and kindness and compassion, were needed. We're so heavily needed right now. And I want people to remember that. And my other fear, as I saw all this gatekeeping going on, was that as people, as it gets shoved more and more in the shadows, like, or you're dumb for being, overly religious, you're dumb for being spiritual, you can't believe you believe in magic, all those things, you just kind of want to go, wait. The further we shove this in the shadows, the less likely it is that we will have compassionate people in the future. The less likely it is that we will have people that understand magic and God and spirituality and the universe and all of these, broader concepts that we have yet to explain. Maybe we never will. But how can we possibly expect this to carry on in a healthy, beautiful way if no one is willing to talk about it? And if no one is willing to share and be open and teach? How can we possibly expect those that come after us to be kind? It makes no sense. So I decided that I wanted to stop that. And I can't do that on my own by any means, by no stretch of the imagination. So I started the Good Witch Project because I wanted to open the doors and create community and a beautiful resource and safe, sacred space for people to come and know that they are cared for, they are loved, they're heard, and they're seen. And that if they have any questions, they can just ask. The beautiful thing about the internet is it connects all of us as a people, right? Like, anyone can join the Facebook group, anyone can catch me live on Instagram, anyone, I can message anyone, I can email anyone, I can reach someone on the exact opposite side of the world from me, right? And it's beautiful. It has also created a detachment, which would naturally arise, where we become cruel because we don't have to deal with other people. And that was something else that I noticed about a lot of already established resources for witches, is that eventually they give way to a lot of anger and a lot of resentment because, you're just being shoved in the shadows all the time. How could you not get angry and get frustrated when you're trying to shine your light and be who you are, and people just keep shoving it down? Or you keep shoving it down to please other people. How can you possibly live a happy, fulfilling life that way? And so in any group that I create, in anything I post on here that you comment on, please know that you are safe and that I will delete and block people with extreme prejudice when it comes to making harmful comments. No one needs that. I refuse to even have that in our space. So when we talk about, from just a quick clarification, when I say from a fable, that's my business. That's where you'll find the Wheel of the Year cauldrons. That is the root of everything. The Good Witch Project is a project that has spawned from that business, from that research and everything I've collected and learned and talked about with other people. It's this product of a much needed missing piece of our community. I want the next generation to know what true magic is. And I don't mean true as in, a very narrow, focused in type of magic that's like, well, it's this or it doesn't exist. Not at all. It's quite the opposite. I want the next generation to know the wonder of a universal power beyond us. I want them to know. I want my daughters to grow up knowing that they can look into these things, and whether or not it speaks to them, that's fine. But that there are always people that are willing to meet with them and talk with them and teach them things. I think there's a lot of forgotten pieces of knowledge that we are learning again right now. So through all of this, it's another reason I decided to actually go live on Instagram here tonight. Normally, I can go live in my safe little sacred space of the Good Witch Project. But I realized that in my error to communicate this message and what everything is, those that follow me here on Instagram weren't getting this information. They weren't getting anything. They were just kind of getting the pieces and fragments of it. And for those of you that see this, I sincerely hope that this community sounds like something you'd want to be a part of. And going forward, the Good Witch Project, if I could sum it up into one mission, it's to, well, okay, it's a two-part mission. I can't sum it up into one. It's a two-part mission. I can't do it. It's to create a community, a healthy community, as well as change the experience of witchcraft. Witches are not bad. We're not evil. I'm a mom, a military wife. I have 3 dogs. I really need to mow my lawn. I'm a human being. I just have different aptitudes than others. But I refuse to stifle the light and healing within me if I feel that it could benefit others. So I haven't said most of these things to most of the people that follow me on Instagram. Maybe you've read my posts, maybe I've hinted at it, maybe I've done those other things, and maybe you've drawn your own conclusions, but I've never just come right out and said that. But I realized that how could I possibly create a community where I was urging witches to not be afraid to live in the light rather than the shadows? How could I do that if I wasn't doing the same? So that's what all of this is. Yes, the candles are a part of it, and they are an expression of my craft as a candle maker and as a witch, but they're really born from that same desire to provide resources for witches trying to make sense of things that they see and feel and know about the world and somehow integrate them with modern life. It's a challenge. It's a real challenge. Because that overall is my goal for everything, is to provide resources. Provide resources and build each other up to the point where we're not in the shadows anymore. How could we be? And I sincerely look forward to everything to come. I sincerely look forward to every witch or spiritual person or religious person that joins the group or hops on the new forums that I just put on my website, where there will be more discussion led around certain topics. And that actually came from the feedback from the group, because Facebook doesn't really provide a great platform for starting threads on topics. And so I decided to just add them to my website, because again, I just want to provide resources. And for every person that benefits in any way from them, thank you for even taking the time to try. Thank you, you beautiful, beautiful, magical beings. I'm grateful for every one of you. So, if there are any questions about who I am from a Fable, the Good Witch Project, you're more than welcome to post them. I see that actually there have been comments going on in the Facebook group, but I haven't actually seen them. Oh, yes, Nikki, thank you. Solitary Witch, yes, that's the exact book it was. Let's see. I kind of want a fandom candle. Let's see here. We're nice, I promise. Yeah. Nikki, you're awesome. So are you, Lainey, and everyone who's been commenting and everything. So if there's any questions, by all means, feel free to message me. Feel free to comment on this. Feel free to comment in the group. Feel free to come join the group. We love new people. Come gather around the kitchen table, the hearth table. And, you know, just kind of coming back as like my last little thing before I wrap this up. For resources, like I said, forums, that's going to be a new thing. There's going to be a thread on herb magic, thread on candle magic, thread on witchy businesses so that we can support each other. This is what I mean where I want to build a space where we can share ourselves, support each other, and kind of create a community that's everywhere, right? And know that we have our people. Because sometimes even when you find other witches, they're not exactly welcoming for fear of what you might think of them. And then the other piece related to the feedback that I received from the group is I had a lot of people mention both in comments and to me directly that table time is wonderful, but the scheduling is not, it doesn't really land for people who are in like the Eastern time zone because it's 10 p.m. when I go on there. And it's always more fun to catch things live. So I'm probably going to be putting out to the group just, a couple different options for when I could go live instead. We've done it before, and that's how we got moved from Tuesdays to Wednesdays. But we'll do it again since now my schedule is going to be a bit more open. This is really the only table time live that I'm going to be doing here on Instagram. This was just one that I felt was very important to share here as well. So the other piece of that is that I also received a lot of feedback that not everyone is able to sit and watch the video, which is completely fine. I'm definitely one of those people that I'll put a video on that actually like walk around and do stuff if I'm just listening to it. But I also understand that, if it's a video, sometimes people feel like they have to sit down and watch, especially if you're like me and you make a lot of hand gestures. But I will actually be pulling the audio from table times and creating a podcast from that, as well as creating actual like podcast episodes for content. Basically, my goal and my renewed mission is to create resources that I feel are very needed in the group, in the world. I truly feel like we're in a time where they are very necessary and crucial to our growth as humans. So, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and end this wonderful live on Instagram first. Then I'm going to sign off to my group. And if you guys have any feedback, or if there's something that you're like, hey, if you're in the way of making resources, I'd love something on this because I'm having trouble finding this, by all means, let me know. Start a conversation in the forums. I'll be sharing more links for that stuff here on Instagram in the group. I'll be sharing a lot of that tomorrow and in the next few days. And really kind of pushing like, hey, here's where we're going to start having conversations. There's not a whole lot sitting on the forums right now just because I literally just opened it. And I wanted to see how people actually responded to it before I go full in and start doing that. So if that's something you're interested, make sure you hop on, introduce yourself in the introduction thread. There is one. And I will see you guys there. I'm so excited. And I'm so grateful for every one of you that popped on here, anyone who watches this later, anyone who follows me in general, anyone in our group, anyone who's had discussions with me, anyone who's met on a crafting call with me, like any of it, all of you, I love you. And just thank you. So bye, Instagram. Okay. Well, that's on Instagram for the next 24 hours. So what do you guys think? Forums and podcast and a new table time schedule? How does everyone feel about that? Oh my goodness. Why is it not scrolling down for comments? I thought no one was commenting. Okay, we will absolutely serve tea and cookies. Okay, it's not nasty at all. I thought it was going to be bitter, but oh, mugwort tea. Okay, don't know anything about mugwort. What is it called? Maybe dreams. Super hype! Yay! See, Nikki, you've got me. You've got me. Okay, so I'm going to be, oh, actually, yes, this is specifically to the group, obviously. I keep looking at my computer screen because I'm used to using my webcam or like having something on my computer. So I'm going to be putting out a couple different polls. I'm going to try and spread them out so I don't just like spam you guys with polls. But you guys are the ones that I'm doing this for. You guys are just as much a part of creating this as I am. So I'm going to be putting out polls of, like things like when would table time be best to have? What topics do you want me to produce content on or start conversation on in the forums? I'm going to be putting out some polls on those types of things. Please, 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 please continue to be amazing and give me feedback on those, because that way I can create these things and you guys can use them. And then we all benefit and we all grow as a beautiful community. So I'm going to sign off now, but I love you, my fabulous good witches. I can't talk. And I wish you a wonderful evening. So, sign off.